What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rapheal Davis podcast. Today we got another special guest, a Purdue legend himself.
Uh,
Someone very important to the Purdue men's basketball team. Doesn't get a lot of credit for it, but definitely does a lot of the leg work, a lot of the behind the scenes work. Someone that I would say after the 2013 season was very, very, very important in getting us back to where we needed to be that next season. Although maybe he wasn't there with us, but Gavin Roberts, everybody. How you doing, Gav?
I'm doing good, Ray. How are you?
I can't complain, man. I can't complain. How is basketball in COVID? Let's just start there.
Uh, I would say it's definitely different. I think it's depending on how people are kind of built and how it kind of affects them in general. You got some people that come from different places where COVID hasn't really affected them like that, and then you got other people where, like some of these student athletes have lost family members. You know, I'm not gonna say they've lost friends, but they've lost important people in their lives. So it's definitely different. I would say the biggest thing is that if you do have a passion for, the sport, I think this year has definitely kind of showed that at the end of the day, this is still a game and it can be taken away. I've had an appreciation for it, and I think the guys that I've had the opportunity to coach have had an appreciation for it as well too. I mean, it has come with its challenges, but it's been good overall.
No, I got you. Appreciate that. And one of those challenges had to be because I know when I was playing, I mean, right after the season, we come in last in the Big Ten. Me and you, we hit it hard in the weight room in Maymester, and we kind of let that continue throughout the summer. How was that? Not having really a full summer this year, not being able to get the guys in the shape you want them to be in, and talk about that a little bit.
It was definitely a little different because it's like each and every single day you didn't really know what was going on. At least from an administrative standpoint, we were, having meetings weekly, and I'm not talking about like with the basketball coaches, but overall, just for our job. But really trying to lock in as far as like just keeping communication with people, talking to them kind of like once a week. I sent out a lot of body weight exercises as far as like old school type stuff. Well, I don't even want to say old school, but a lot of push-ups, pull-ups, and all of those different types of things. But we tried to make sure that we communicated with the guys. Plus, it's like you didn't know the situation that people were in. Some people at the end of the day could get outside and could go run outside and do that type of stuff, while other people were really, really kind of like locked down. So it was kind of like, whatever you can kind of give each day. I was just looking for you to give your best each day and just really give them a template to kind of at least give them something, that they can do. I think probably around, so you mentioned Maymester earlier. So there was no Maymester at all. We really didn't get started until June. And once we got started in June, like the restrictions were so crazy at that time, it was definitely kind of hard, and everybody was kind of stepping on eggshells as far as like things that we can do. But I'm proud of what everybody has accomplished, so far, from a team standpoint, and of course you want to get better each and every single day. But at the end of the day, this has been a tough year in general with a lot of stuff, and we're not just talking about COVID.
Right. That's 100% true. And no, I definitely appreciate you sharing all about COVID. I could only imagine how tough it is for the guys to kind of get in shape, out of shape. You get a rhythm, you don't get a rhythm.
Yeah.
Definitely showing just across college basketball, not even just at Purdue, but just in basketball in general. But Gav, I want Purdue to learn about the strength coach. I want Purdue to learn about the man behind the team. Where do you come from, Gav? Kind of tell us your background, how you got to Purdue, how you ended up the head men's basketball strength coach at Purdue.
So a little bit about myself, how I got to Indiana in general. I was a former student athlete. I played football here at Purdue from 2008 to 2012, 2013. So that was really my introduction to Purdue. Now, at that time, I really had no connection with Purdue basketball at all. Um, Pretty much after I got done and I graduated, I just stumbled upon a graduate assistant job, to be honest with you. I really just walked into it. Pretty much the day before, I was pretty much getting ready to almost like pack up my stuff and leave and find a plan to try to get my master's elsewhere. Um, that was the day that I was supposed to start interning with Josh because I figured like, hey, let me at least get a month of like interning with basketball because that was the only sport that I never had the opportunity to really work with. So I asked them maybe a week before, and then that following kind of like Monday when I came out there, that's when Gary Christopher, the assistant strength and conditioning coach at the time, got the job at Pittsburgh. And then Coach Carlisle and Josh pulled me to the side and basically was like, look, there's an opening here for a graduate assistant who can help us with men's basketball. We're willing to give you the opportunity. We just want to kind of see like, how you are over the course of this summer. And it worked out. And pretty much that's how I got started. I played basketball. I played basketball in high school. I started my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And then I play football. I'm from New Jersey, Franklin in particular. I started my sophomore, junior, and senior year. Huh?
Shouts to Franklin.
Yeah, I gotta throw that out there. I don't talk about it often and stuff like that, and I definitely want to do a better job of that because I haven't really been home for a long time in a while, but it helped raise me, and I'm proud of a lot of the people, my friends, my coaches from there. To look back and see some people kind of like fall off, and to think about all the talent that was there, and for me to kind of, I don't want to say make it out like it's the worst place, but at the end of the day, you already know how people can get trapped and stuck at home sometimes.
Right. What's that like though? Let's talk about that a little bit. What's that like growing up in a place where, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, like you said, you made it out. So what's that like being the guy that played football, being the guy that went to Purdue, kind of being the guy?
It's weird when I say, well, it's like when I say made it out, I think it's like stepping outside of your comfort zone. Some people get so caught up in where they are presently, and they don't understand that sometimes you could do better for yourself by just stepping outside of like your comfort zone.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity where football allowed me to step outside of New Jersey and see something different, right. In Indiana. And there's pros and cons to living in New Jersey, and, you know what I'm saying? And there's pros and cons to living in Indiana. But when you get experiences and going to different places, you get to see different cultures, and you get to be able to weed out what's good and bad for yourself. And you get a ton of experiences in terms of how to handle like certain situations. So that's the biggest thing for me when I'm talking about getting out and being blessed with the opportunity to see different experiences.
Oh no, that's what's up. We'll talk about that experience playing for Purdue football. I know you kind of came in a time where I don't know if you guys were good when you got there, but kind of talk about that.
So before I got there, they were pretty much, I think Coach Tiller he went to a ton of bowl games. I mean, they were going to bowl games pretty much every single year. And for me, I had an offer from Connecticut, I had an offer from Purdue. And then I pretty much had some MAC schools. But out of those schools, Purdue was pretty much, I felt as though it was pretty much like the best option. And then I had family here in Indianapolis. So at the time, like I said, I wanted to get away from New Jersey, but at the same time, I could step into the state and still know that I still have family. But as far as like the football journey, it's pretty much, man, I want to say it was ups and downs, but it led me to my career. So I'm thankful for that. I got the opportunity to really learn and see like how much passion can push somebody forward, especially seeing the guys that have been successful. But personally for myself, my freshman year, I came in as a defensive back. My junior year, I got moved to, I think my redshirt sophomore year, that spring, I got moved to running back. I did pretty well. I did pretty well that year. Most of my stuff was like health concerns. I was always spraining my ankle. It was so hard for me to make it through like fall camp, and usually that always put me behind the eight ball. So I did special teams, but I was never any. I was never like the big time person that was on the field or anything like that. But I was always athletic. You kind of know that. I was always athletic and I was always big and stuff like that. And that's how I wound up just taking an interest in like just sports performance and strength and conditioning. Most of the time, like goals I was set in there, whether it was a hang clean or anything in the 40 and stuff like that, most of the time I would knock them goals out. But football is tough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't blessed with like I wasn't blessed with always being the healthiest when it was time to really, when coaches were really looking. So
That makes sense.
it is what it is.
I feel you. Like you said, it is what it is. But you transition into basketball, you transition into strength coach. That first year, you come in last place in the Big Ten with Purdue basketball. No one expected it. But how was that season for you, being your first season with basketball? Because I know you, while you were there, you saw really good basketball teams at Purdue. So
Oh yeah.
to be with that team, come in last place, what's that like? What's that feeling?
I didn't. It's so weird because it's like when you be playing, guys be playing against each other so much, so you get to see the bad, but you also get to see like the glimmer of light and the talent that's there. And with that first year, like, with Jay and AJ and all that stuff, and you just seeing them from an athletic standpoint, I'm like, dag, like we really got an opportunity here. But then that's when I began to start to find out about like chemistry and like really listening. And for me, other than I think maybe I want to say maybe 2 years at Purdue, I went to the Heart of Dallas Bowl. Then we had I forgot the name, but the bowl game that was in Texas. But for the most part, like we weren't really winning like that. So I'm at this point, I'm kind of thinking like, dag, like why can't what's going on? Like why can't I be a part of like some winning? Like I said, everybody goes through you go through stuff for a reason, because then I got to see like from ground zero of where we were at, and then watching the like y'all lay the foundation for something greater. And I appreciate that more than kind of like just y'all winning the Big Ten championship and stuff like that. Cause like I know where it began and I know where it started. And then when I came back to see like Grady and Ryan and people that I didn't have a connection with continue some of those same traditions that you started and guys started, it was just like, wow, like it's crazy.
That's dope. No, that's what's up, man. I appreciate that. No, because that is crazy to be able to go back. Because I mean, you saying traditions that we started. I'll say traditions that you started. Because I still remember this the moment that I knew you were the one. I don't know if you remember this. 6 a.m. workout. I think Bryson Scott and Basil come in later, something like that. And we start doing leg lifts for 30 minutes. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Moment where it was either me or you at that moment, and you kind of outlasted me. And that was that moment. I think that was one of those moments where I think you gained just the entire respect of the entire team, because that was before the 5 freshmen had got there. I think that was right after we come in last place. I think that was Maymester still.
Yeah.
So that was they Maymester still before the freshmen came. You kind of set the tone for the summer.
Wow.
So nah, I still remember that.
Wow. I like as far as my philosophy, sometimes like when it comes to like criticizing, when it comes to criticism and stuff like that, just for the I don't know, just with this generation, and I kind of see your page and how you operate it, the importance of positivity and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew if I had a relationship with y'all that at the end of the day, when I finally had to correct y'all, or if there was any criticism that I had to do, y'all would always know that it was coming from a place of love.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we always had a relationship, you know, beyond kind of like just basketball.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, you pretty much you even got me to get outside of my shell because I was so shy and um I felt so inexperienced because I I didn't really have any connection to basketball. I felt like I was on the outside looking in, but like you really helped kind of like pull me in really through our relationship, to be honest with you. So me going off like that and stuff like that was because I knew I could do something like that because I knew I had the backing of like you, and I knew I had the backing of um AJ, and I knew I had the backing of, you know, y'all knew who I really was and what I was trying to like give off, and the energy and the vibe that I was trying to, show y'all and get y'all to just understand like what it would take to to win.
Yeah, no, straight up. Oh, and that's what for me, like you just saying, it was easy for me to receive stuff like that from you because it's Maymaster, and I think at that point I may have been one of the only guys that stayed on campus from Maymaster after that year because a lot of
Yeah.
guys transferred out. Freshmen went home, and kind of, I mean, you come in last place is dead. But I had a daughter, and I needed that Maymaster check, so
I already know.
stuck around. But no, it was never a moment where I was like, "Let's get in the gym. I mean, let's go train. It's whatever. Let's go work out." And I really think, and like I said all the time, that's where I won Defensive Player of the Year that year. That Maymaster. Those,
Yeah.
especially going into the football lock. I'm still going to remember going into the football weight room and busting out squats and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like it was little things like that. So for me, it was always easy. Then when the freshmen came in, I know I don't know if they still do, but when you're upperclassmen, you're supposed to give the freshmen the law of the land. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
tell them who to trust, who to go to. You know what I mean? Who means well, whatever. And that's just with any program. And we were always the guy that said, "This is the guy you go to." So with the PJ, Dakota, those guys, I'm sure they shared that on to even Carson and those guys. And that's why I still think now, Eric and those guys, you got that level of respect. You know what I mean? So I've always, I don't know if you get enough credit for that turnaround, but I've always spoken highly of it.
That like I said, man, I appreciate that because I never, you know what I'm saying? I never walked away with a ring, but I always watched, like, as I continued, like, my journey of coaching, I always watched from afar and I was always so proud of y'all. Like, even now. And when I say proud of y'all, you already know it's not like I'm not saying it like
Yeah,
I'm that much older or anything like that. Like it's tough for young black men.
yeah,
And like there's some people that walk away with a degree and still be struggling.
right.
So for me to see y'all like for us to have our degree and for us to be blossoming into who we are, that's why I wanted to have that relationship because I already know that this is gonna go. It goes beyond.
Yeah, like I mean, 100%. It definitely goes beyond basketball because I remember I leave Purdue. I hadn't talked to you probably in a couple years or whatever. I go train in Miami for a couple weeks. You pick me up. We go get lunch. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where you weren't with Purdue. I wasn't with Purdue. I was happened to be where you were at, and anytime we're in the same place, we get together. So I just think that goes to a testament just how Purdue kind of cultivated itself into a family to where you may have people go branch out, do other things, but at the end of the day, everybody's gonna come back together.
Yep.
So, but nah, let's talk about this team now because I know I'm excited about this team, especially me getting into the media side of things. This is one of my favorite teams. I know I got family on the team, Eric Hunter Jr. I know Aaron is a guy I helped recruit when I was a senior and even when I was coming back. So, talk about the team now. Anybody surprise you? Anybody excited for this Big Ten season coming up?
I'm just excited that everybody's really worked hard um over the course of the summer. Just getting guys really to try to buy into like consistency.
Right.
Um, and the consistency of constantly working to probably, well, not probably, to get better each day. And kind of like looking back at my own journey as an athlete myself and understanding that, you know, your attitude really dictates a lot of times,
Right.
what your situation is.
Yeah.
So as far as this team goes, it's just getting them to buy into that consistency and not following the highs and lows of emotionally how you feel. So some days you're gonna come in and you're gonna feel really good, and some days you're gonna come in and you're gonna feel really really bad. But at the end of the day, can you find a way to get better each and every single day? And I think all the guys have bought into that. And we're just trying to work right now to kind of like figure each other out right now.
My bad. I talked over you a little bit. I was just
No,
asking, how do you get a young team to be consistent? How do, like, even in the first couple games of the season, you see an amazing first half, kind of fall off in the second half, and kind of start the game slow, kind of pick up. How do you get a team to be consistent in the game, but also just get them simply to be consistent in the weight room?
it's really so what I've tried to get guys into is just and not forcing them to do it because that's against the rules, of course. But at the end of the day, trying to make sure that you watch film each day, trying to make sure that you're doing something from a strength and conditioning, sports performance standpoint. Trying to make sure you're doing something in the training room each day. Trying to make sure every single day that you're trying to get better when it comes to specific skills that fulfill your role in the vision of the team. And then making sure that you're trying to like that you're going hard and practice each day. I think one thing I try to push from the guys each day and each game, pick three things, that you want to, that's a weakness and that you want to improve upon and develop a strategy to do so. And then pick three things that you did well for that day. It's so easy for us sometimes to get caught up on kind of like the things that we do that's bad. But it's important for us to pick up on the things that we do that's well because that can help drive us that next day to get up in the next morning to keep pushing and to keep working. Because you already know, at the end of the day, most of the teams that I've seen be successful here at Purdue, to be honest with you, we've had really like some rough starts. And then most of the time we hit a groove somewhere around January. And it's because Coach Paint expects a lot, especially when it comes to defensively. Because I mean, from high school to college, like it picks up from a defensive standpoint with everything in the weight. I mean, with you lifting weights, the playbook that we have, it's a lot, and it could be a mental drain on some people sometimes. That's why it's just like it's a daily grind, or it's like Nipsey says, it's a marathon.
For the young guys, for the freshmen, because I know like we have a lot of freshmen expected to play. You got Jaden, you got even Brandon and Mason. I mean, we got a young team with a young freshman, even Zach. How do you get those young guys to kind of be able to go every single day in such a huge transition? Even like a guy with like Ethan, he's probably got to play 3 or 4 positions. He got a heavy playbook. He's got a taxing weight room. How can you get a guy or young guys to buy in early and understand and trust that process and just work hard every day?
Relationship building early, trying to like doing like little stuff and asking people questions beyond just basketball to be able to kind of like develop a relationship with people. I think that's probably the most important thing. It's like in general when it comes to any field, when you share uh, one vision with a bunch of people, at the end of the day, people want to know like, does this person have my best interest at heart? To be honest with you, so trying to build relationship with these guys early. That's where the summer came in. Making sure that I was constantly in contact with guys, but just being like, honestly, man, just being there for them, talking them through like how it's going to be once the school year starts. Um, you know, giving them like I talk to the guys all the time about kind of like just building kind of like a daily routine for yourself in order to like just set an anchor for you. And I'm a big person on mental health now because now I understand, like when I was in college, to be honest with you, I was probably going through like depression.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So looking out for those things and trying to build relationships early. And then once I get those relationships, seeing the personalities kind of that you're dealing with and then trying to mend a schedule for them that's going to best suit kind of like who they are in general. And then a big thing I would say is for me, and I might do it too much, but I like to explain why people need to do certain things. I think this generation, there's so much information that's out there. It's hard for you sometimes to just tell somebody to just go do something and you not explaining to them like why and what it's gonna build to. So I try to make sure that I always do that. And the reason I'm always talking about 1% and always giving something each and every single day is because ultimately, I mean, you know what you've been a part of Purdue, you know what the goals are pretty much every year and what the expectations are. So doing something every day in every single aspect of, you know, the game as far as watching film, strength and conditioning, the training room, all that stuff is going to contribute to that end goal.
Yep. Yep. No, that's real. Definitely. I mean, nah, if anybody that was trying to get it, that explains it 100%. We're definitely starting this season with Big Ten play on Wednesday, Gav. How do you plan to kind of keep the guys strong throughout this 20-game Big Ten schedule? I don't know if it's 20 again this season. I know the games will maybe be back closer together, back to back, maybe. What's kind of the strength and conditioning plan to kind of keep the guys ready all year?
Really, for the most part, man, just kind of communicating with them. And then, like I said, one thing I try to push is just doing a little bit of something each and every single day. So a guy may come in and like Josh started it with the jumps, you know, when y'all used to do jumps. Some days y'all come in and y'all would jump, it would be terrible. You know what I'm saying? Some days y'all come in and you jump and you feeling great. So it's the same thing like when it comes to lifting. Sometimes if you feeling really, really bad, you might need to do more of a recovery lift, right? If you're feeling really, really good for that day, you know, then maybe we can hit a real heavy, like we can hit a heavier lift, right? Or we can hit a more powerful lift, like you know, like a dumbbell release jumps or squat jumps or anything like that. So for the most part, I'm constantly trying to communicate with the guys and looking at when's the next game and what we can get done in between this next game and try to get you to feel as best as you possibly can. So we might do a heavier lift maybe three uh 3 days before because I know that'll give you enough time to be able to recover from that heavier lift. And then I know the day before the game, I can maybe get you in the pool where we can do like some hydrotherapy stuff where you're fully recovered and you're feeling well. But at the end of the day, we didn't just stay stagnant and we're continuing to evolve and get better over the course of the year. And you know, like most of that, a lot of that came from Josh. And y'all hated it sometimes, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can't argue with the results.
Right. No, that's real. No, that's no, Gavin. I appreciate you sharing that. But I got a couple questions to break it up for you.
Okay.
Strongest player on the team.
Right now, ooh, if you talking pound for pound,
Yep.
Brandon Newman. If you just talking about just straight output of weight, you would probably go Travion.
Okay. Fastest on the team.
Ooh, that's. I think it'll probably be. It's definitely gonna be Jaden. Isaiah is close, but it's Jaden.
Most explosive.
Jaden.
Okay. No, that's that's all I had, Gav. And I got one more question for you. That's something I always wanted to know. What's it like working for Coach Paint? What's that like?
Man,
This is the one question I've never been ever to ask anybody.
honestly, man, I enjoy it. There's one story that I don't even really think I told you. He probably doesn't even really know how much it it helped me, and it made me definitely want to. If I had the opportunity to, I was like, man, I want to work for him. It was the first year Josh went overseas for, I guess, to finish up his master's for something, and it was right during like preseason conditioning. So mind you, this is my first year. Like Josh is gone. I really don't have basketball experience like that besides the summer and me playing in high school. And it's like, yo, they're entrusting me to do the preseason conditioning. So I think the first day we went out there, I don't know what happened, but it wasn't run the way that I thought that it should be run. And I was walking out of a building, and, Coach Payne asked me, he was like, hey, Gav, he was like, first of all, him just knowing my name was kind of like, all right, I'm something beyond just like the assistant. Cause you know how it can be at certain places. Sometimes like head coaches are kind of like big time. But he was like, Gav, like, how'd it go today? And I kind of looked at him and I was like, man, it didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. And he's like, man, don't trip. Like, he said, man, you got 18. He said, you got 18 to 22-year-olds. He said, to be honest with you, he said, if I had everything figured out, he said, man, like, I had a ton of championships myself. He said, like, that's the grind of it, getting these guys to try to like buy in each day. Now, of course, he didn't say it in that way, right, but you know how Coach Payne talks. And I'm not that good with impressions and stuff like that, but that's what I got out of the conversation. And then I was like, wow, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just a real guy in general that cares for me beyond just the sport and just coaching. And from there, I was like, I was pretty much like, I was bought in. Very detail oriented, funny. You already know that at the end of the day. Real funny. But like I said, man, just a pleasure to be around. He's been successful as a player. He's been successful as a coach. And it's one thing for you to be successful as a player and like you the superstar of the team. It's another thing when you're successful as a player and you're playing like a specific role and people still have enough respect for you to respect like who you are. Like that's big time, you know? So like I said, it's been a pleasure. I learn new stuff each day, even though sometimes we run the same drills and stuff that you're always running. But you can't argue it at the end of the day because it's led to success. So it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate it because it gave me the opportunity to get to know you and the other guys and just be a part of this Purdue basketball family. It's not many people that can say that they're part of the football family and as well as part of the basketball family. So,
nah, Gav, like I said, I always have appreciated what you've done for Purdue basketball, what you've done for me personally, bigger than you know. I know you may not know, but I was going through a lot when we met, especially that first year. My daughter was born, dealing with a lot of stuff like that. But that Maymester, you got your cactus cup.
Hey, man. That's crazy, right? This is my water cup.
Yeah, all right. Okay, all right. Yeah. But I think, but no, I always will say that Maymester changed Purdue basketball. And I wouldn't say necessarily changed it, but it got it back to where it was before I was there. And it's kind of continued on to where it is now. I'm glad you're back with those guys. I remember you first got back. I hit Eric. I said, get with Gav. He one you can trust. The very first, right when I saw the tweet. So nah, Gav, if you ever need anything on our end, just let us know. But we look forward to checking in with you at the middle of the season, kind of see how guys' bodies are holding up. We're excited for the game on Wednesday against Ohio State. But we appreciate you joining us today, Gav.
Nah, man, I appreciate you for really giving me this opportunity. This is my first podcast that I've ever done. And if I haven't said it before, so everybody knows, man, I appreciate you too. Sometimes as coaches, we always think that we're just teachers, but at the end of the day, like we're learning as well. We're learning as well too.
Right.
And I got the opportunity really to be able to learn from you. You know what I'm saying? Like the boxing stuff.
That's
Like
one thing I'll say too, man. For you, when you came in, like I know we were wrapping up, but when you came in, even though you were new, you came in from on the football side. You could have told us what to do, just flat out. I mean, you had that type of authority. Whether you assistant, whether you a graduate assistant, you could have told us what to do. But that was something that you never really tried to. I mean, you put your foot down when you needed to, obviously. I mean, clearly that those leg lifts, but you came in with more of a I'm here to help y'all, but y'all also help me. And that was one of the things for me that I really attracted to. I know John Noctis really just gravitated to right when he got to campus was Gav is our coach, but at the end of the day, Gav is a person that just wants us to do well. But so that's something that I think those guys now will benefit from. I think those guys in the future that come, I think you're a bigger reason that guys come to Purdue than you think. Because once you see the sports performance side, because I know when I came on my visit in high school, Josh was one of the first people I was introduced to. So I know Paint takes that side of it real serious. So I know guys are coming not only to get better on the basketball court, but they're coming to be better athletes. But before that, I mean, like you said, you're taking mental health real serious right now. Guys are coming to Purdue to be better men, and that's something that Paint really stresses. So, nonetheless, Gav, thank you, appreciate you, bro.
man, it's love. Shout out to my man Jo. He played a vital role in that too.
Yes, he
He's
did.
in the same master's program, so whether or not you realize it, some of the relationships that I got with y'all is really he helped facilitate that. So that's why I gotta throw the shout out to Jo.
Oh man, that's what's up, Gav. All right, Gav, I'll holler at you.
All right then, Ray.